SMGs are super fun to use. They're a great complement to the fast-paced gameplay of Call of Duty, but obviously some SMGs are better than others, and in today's video, we're going to focus on the worst of the worst. What is up, everybody? Jimmy, your Chaos. Today we're going to be talking about the worst SMG in every single Call of Duty game from COD 4 all the way to Black Ops 6. So you let me know in the comments what you think the worst SMG in COD history is. Drop a like, and remember, we are going to start including COD Mobile and Black Ops 7 very, very soon. Probably in the next day or two, so get ready for that as well. But today, it's the worst of the worst. We have to start off with COD 4. I appreciate you guys. Remember, I read every single comment on every single video. That is not AI scan. That is me personally taking my time, usually when I'm bored, to go through the comments. COD 4, the Scorpion. I might get a little bit of hate for this pick because there's always at least one guy in the comments raises his hand and says, hey, you know what? This gun was good. Stop talking crap about it, Jimmy, but I'm not going to back off of it. The COD 4 Scorpion was bad, at least compared to the other SMGs in the game. I mean, this was a game with the original MP5. Had the best AK-74U in COD history. I mean, it had others along with some of the underrated hits like the P90. The Scorpion, it was weak. It had terrible ammo capacity, super long reload animations that you couldn't cancel once it started, and it was at a severe disadvantage compared to everything else in the SMG category. Now, some players insisted it was amazing in hardcore, but you know what I'm going to say to those people? Everything was amazing in hardcore. This is the worst SMG in the game. World at War. The Thompson? It's actually kind of weird because even though the Thompson was the worst SMG in World at War, it's an iconic weapon. It had a really big following, and I don't actually think the Thompson was bad in the game. It was just that the other three SMGs were amazing. World at War Thompson had to compete with the PPSH, the MP40, and the Type 100. All of those had a pretty clear advantage over it. I mean, the Thompson definitely looked and sounded cool, but also had some really bad recoil. The damage wasn't quite high enough to to counteract the amount of work you had to do to stay on target. It wasn't a melt machine. I mean, the PPSH was a melt machine. It wasn't a miniature cannon like the MP40 or a laser beam like the Type 100. It was just doing its own thing, and sure, I got it some fans, but it also made it the worst SMG in the game by a pretty clear margin. Modern Warfare 2, 2009 that is. A lot of you don't even remember this was in the game. The Mini Uzi. Now, if you were running the Mini Uzi back in the day, I'm going to tip my hat to you because I really don't know what the heck you were doing. I mean, I can respect an underdog pick. I mean, this game had the UMP45. Why would you ever use anything but that? But the Mini Uzi struggled pretty hard in the game because, I mean, that super high fire rate and that super drastic range drop-off was prominent. The game was a hit marker, or the gun was a hit marker machine. It was not something you wanted in a game like classic Modern Warfare 2, where everyone was getting instantly melted across the map. Yes, it looked cool. Yes, it sounded cool. It's kind of fun to run in akimbo mode. But it was very clearly the worst SMG in the game. This was a gun you used when you wanted to go mess around and have fun, not when you actually wanted to go play well. Black Ops. The Uzi. Now, the Modern Warfare 2 Uzi, it was fun for messing around with. The Black Ops Uzi was a gun for being depressed. This was not only the worst SMG in the original Black Ops, it might actually be the worst SMG in COD history. Not only did it have some of the ugliest iron sights I've ever seen in a video game, it also had a horrendously slow time to kill. The recoil was awful. It had a long reload time, and it was almost impossible to use well in a game like Black Ops. It was only effective at point-blank range. And even then, it was only good if you got the first shot off. The damage was so pathetic and the recoil was so bad, it made it basically unusable beyond close range. I mean, hands down the worst SMG in the game, and again, I think it's one of the worst SMGs in the entire franchise. There's no defending this one. It was bad. Nobody can say anything else about it. And Black Ops offerings of SMGs, terrible. Modern Warfare 3 2011. The MP5. Now, the MP5 is typically a pretty reliable SMG in Call of Duty, but for some reason, this version showed up and it was the opposite. It was the starting SMG in the game, had some of the worst damage and recoil in the entire SMG category, plus it had the smallest teeny tiny default magazine of all the SMGs in the game. So it was literally at a disadvantage across the board, which made it really hard to justify using in multiplayer. And then once you started unlocking the other SMGs in the game, you completely forgot the MP5 existed, which is crazy to say now. I mean, this game had the MP7, it had the P90, it had the UMP45, it had the PP90M1, and it had the underrated PM9. There was absolutely no reason to use the MP5 once you unlocked literally anything else in the weapon category. Worst SMG in the game? possibly worst MP5 in COD history, Black Ops 2. I'm smiling right now because whenever I get to mention this gun in a negative light, the people come out of the caves. The Cheekum, the CQB, bring the hate. I don't care. I can handle it. I've done this for a long time. I'm equipped for this. The Cheekum was straight trash. You know it. I know it. We all know it. This burst SMG had a pretty insane fire rate, and the theoretical time to kill was quick, but you know what else had an insane fire rate and great theoretical time to kill? Scorpion Evo. In fact, the Scorpion Evo had a fire rate of 1,250 rounds per minute, which was the maximum possible fire rate with the Cheekum, except the Cheekum was a burst fire weapon. You had to perfectly time your burst in order to have this thing hit 1,250 fire rate, but with the Scorpion, all you had to do was hold down your trigger and spray and pray. You'd have the exact same time to kill. So answer me this. Why would I take the Cheekum over the Scorpion? Scorpion literally had the exact same time to kill, but it was full auto instead of burst. I mean, some of you will defend this gun in the comments, and I know it, but I don't care. I mean, the Cheekum sucked. It did. Call of Duty Ghost. The Vepr. Ghost actually had some really solid SMGs, but using an SMG was kind of pointless because the time to kill was so quick and that basically everything would kill you instantly up close. So using a designated close quarters weapon, it was kind of dumb because you could kill up close as quickly with an AR or an LMG as you could with this, and you'd also have some extra power at mid and long range. Then again, there were some fan favorite SMGs in the game. You had the MTAR-X, you had the Vector, you had the Ripper, and mainly because those SMGs had some solid mid-range power with them. Vepr, it was just kind of lame all around. I mean, it seemingly was meant to be a slower firing but harder hitting mid-range SMG, but it ended up just feeling like an underwhelming assault rifle. And I didn't really like the name. The Vepr? Come on. Advanced Warfare. The AMR-9. Call of Duty's first ever 5-round burst SMG. Sounded cool on paper. I was excited. But then it handles like a complete nightmare in a game with jetpacks. The only way to use this thing effectively was to somehow consistently get all the shots in your burst to connect with the target at close range, which was honestly never going to happen in a game like Advanced Warfare where the target could just boost jump out of your sights with the touch of a button. I mean, burst fire weapons in this game were a struggle to begin with, but a burst fire weapon that had to be used at close range and it had to have 5-round burst so the damage per shot was low. I mean, I don't know why anybody at Sledgehammer thought this gun was a good idea. It wasn't. And you tricked us. Black Ops 3. The HD-40. Now, to be fair, the gun did get a buff after a first few months on the black market, but I'm still salty about how bad it was when it was added, and I don't think it was a very good weapon. Heck, I still think it's the worst SMG in the game, because while some of you might have said the Razorback was the worst SMG in Black Ops 3, I would argue back and say at least the Razorback had some good accuracy. The HD-40, average damage, low fire rate, bouncy recoil. I'm not really sure what the point of the gun was. Well, I know what the point of it was. It was to sell, or it was to make money. It was cool to have a futuristic MP40 in the game, but the whole point of using the MP40 was to gun people down quickly with 2 to 3 bullets. The HD-40 wasn't nearly consistent enough to make up for that awkward handling or that low fire rate, and I still think it was an absolute disgrace to the classic World at War MP40. Even after the buffs, I was not impressed. Infinite Warfare. The FHR-40, what a name. So creative. The futuristic replacement for the P90. Looked kind of cool, absolutely sucked in combat. Fire rate, high. Magazine, big. Damage, horribly low. Recoil, rough. Made it hard to stay on target. You had to stay on target for 5 to 6 shots. You were going to need that in order to drop somebody. And I know this doesn't really matter, but the FHAR-40 is one of the lamest gun names ever. I mean, you were making up your own name for a futuristic gun. The sky's the limit. You can do it. You can be so creative. And you come up with the FHR-40? You could have called it anything. What does FHR even stand for? Futuristic hot rifle? I don't even know. I mean, where does the 40 come in? I hate it. I don't like it. COD World War II. The WAF-28. I remember when I first used the WAF, I thought it was kind of cool because it was this neat little compact bullet hose, but then I started playing more COD World War II, and then I hated it. I hated it more every match. The damage was really low. The fire rate was really high. It made it feel like a pea shooter because you would spit out 30 bullets downrange, and you would hit them with a handful of them, and then you would get stuck with your reload animation while they walked up to you and killed you with whatever gun they were using. The high recoil and the low damage completely offset the high fire rate. It made it one of the worst guns in the game, as well as the worst SMG by a pretty clear margin, if you ask me. There was a lot of SMGs in this game once all the DLC came out, so being the worst of the worst in COD World War II, that's a pretty impressive achievement. Black Ops 4. BMX-9. starting SMG in BO4 that was actually kind of popular when the game came out. Then people started experimenting with SMGs that you unlocked later, and Treyarch hit the MX9 with a nerf or two, I think, actually. And now it's one of the worst, if not the worst in the game. Handling was good, I will admit that. It had a pretty sweet firing sound too, had some pretty cool reload animations. That damage, it was low. Time to kill was really average compared to everything else. Now, honestly, this game had pretty solid gun balancing by the time all the patches came out. But I always felt like the MX9 was underpowered after that initial nerf. Now, maybe that was the intention behind it since it was your starting SMG. Treyarch probably didn't want it to be too good since you got it right out of the gate, but that didn't change the fact that it was indeed the worst SMG in the game. Modern Warfare 2019 Striker 45. When this DLC gun was announced, a lot of people were excited because of how much it resembled the classic UMP 45. But not only is the Striker 45 not technically the UMP 45, or it's not, it's also complete trash in the way the UMP never was. Yes, it had that slow fire rate and a bouncy recoil like the UMP did back in the day, but what it did not deliver on was the high damage of the iconic UMP. Striker 45 fired slowly, it bounced a lot with its pathetic 25-round magazine, and yet, despite all the drawbacks, it couldn't even get you a high damage profile to go with it. Come on. What's the point of using a slow bouncy SMG if you can't even get a reliable 2-tap that's consistent? It was no good. Black Ops Cold War. The UGR, the Uger. Some of you probably forgot the gun was even in the game. The Uger was this weird underwater gun that used in the Ghost campaign for that one mission, but then Treyarch brought it into Black Ops Cold War multiplayer as a DLC gun for some reason, and nobody touched it. It was bad. Fire rate was low, magazine was small, the velocity in the bullets was noticeably slower than most of the other primary weapons in the game, and the damage, it was piss poor, to be honest with you. On a gun that fired this slowly and had such a teeny tiny little magazine, you would at least expect some really high damage output to make it worth using, but the Uger, its damage profile was completely average. It was a pointless pick in the multiplayer scene. I mean, did you even remember it was in the game? I am willing to bet money. Some of you, a lot of you, totally forgot it was there because you never ever saw it online. Call of Duty Vanguard, my favorite Call of Duty of all time. Sten. I mean, with how quickly the game played, there were really some, I guess, was there any really truly bad SMGs? I don't know. I mean, you had a lot of them. Sten was probably the most underwhelming. That's what gets it the spot. I mean, I don't think it was that bad. It's just the other SMGs in the game were way better and way more capable, but due to the fact you can load this thing up with 10 attachments, you could basically offset all the downsides of any weapon. So yeah, fire rate was slow, handling is a bit clunky, but with the attachment slots available in Vanguard, you could take care of it pretty easily. The only reason it's the worst SMG in the game is because other SMGs don't have issues like this. I mean, you can use 10 attachment slots. Come on. Yeah, it's the worst in COD Vanguard, but it's not actually a bad weapon. It's probably mid-tier in the grand scheme of COD Vanguard, but yeah. Modern Warfare 2 2022. The MX9, that's right. There are two weapons on this list called the MX9, but they are not actually the same gun. Who would have thought? Black Ops 4 version, I mean, totally unique creation by Treyarch. Modern Warfare 2 version, SMG variant of the AUG, and it was bad. Basically just the Modern Warfare 2019 version of the AUG SMG, which was terrible, with no real improvements. It was an SMG that handled like an AR without any of the benefits of being an AR. So it felt heavier, slower than other SMGs, but it still had that low damage and poor range like an SMG. I mean, I guess you could kit it out in the gunsmith, but even with a full set of attachments, I felt like the MX9 was weak in comparison to the other weapons in the game. It's like Infinity Ward wanted it to be this middle ground between AR and SMG, but they didn't want to make it too powerful, so they just made it suck at being an AR and an SMG. I mean, brilliant? Or what's the point? Modern Warfare 3 2023. The Striker 9. Another weapon that seemed like the developers wanted it to be middle ground between AR and SMG. Also didn't want it to be too strong, so they made it suck at both no rolls. It was accurate, which is nice, but it also fired kind of slowly and handled with the kind of speed you would expect from an AR. But it still hit with the damage profile of an SMG. I'm not really sure what the point of the gun was because Modern Warfare 3 is absolutely loaded with good SMGs and ARs, so why would you take it into battle? Why would you take into battle a weapon that's trying to be both an SMG and an AR at the same time and it has identity issues, right? Genuinely, what's the point of a weapon like that? Tell me in the comments, did any of you enjoy using the Striker? Black Ops 6. The Tonto 22, cool name. It's kind of sad to put the Tonto on this list because it was amazing during the early weeks of the game. Yes, it fired slowly and had a very steep learning curve, But if you put in the work and the time, this thing was a monster. But after a while, Treyarch decided to nerf the damage pretty drastically and led to the Tonto becoming this slow, unreliable weapon that wasn't very satisfying to use. I mean, the skill requirements were really high, but the payoff, it wasn't there. I mean, I guess it's worth saying that most of the guns in Black Ops 6 are perfectly good at one thing or another. The gun balance in the game is actually good for the most part, but the Tonto's appeal, it was pretty effectively destroyed after a few patches. And looking at this list of SMGs in the game, it's probably my pick for the worst of the bunch. And you know, we need to get Black Ops 7 going. Let's add it. Black Ops 7. Now, this is obviously fresh day one. I'm going to go with the Raiden 45K. Super early. Most likely going to change. But right now, worst SMG in the game to me. It's the first SMG you get. It's got the least going for it. Definitely seems to be the SMG that people are most eager to put down right now. Maybe it'll change over time with a few patches or a few gunsmith discoveries. But as for right now, I'm going to say the Raiden is the worst SMG in Black Ops 7. And there you have it, my friends. Let me know if I got it right. Let me know if I got it wrong. And I'll see you tomorrow. We're probably going to do off-the-cuff chaos commentary about Black Ops 7. So get ready.